So violence is not the answer. 1000% Just like Trump said, he's 1,000% behind the CIA. See, people do use that 1,000% thing. And 100%, it is not the way. Just like Trump said, he's 100% behind the FBI. Just get it clear. Violence is not the answer. Unlike Gavin McInnes, who came over from Vice Media, then he comes over saying that more violence is needed from Trump people on purpose because he knows the agenda is to label people with certain ideologies as dangerous so then they can take away freedom of speech and then they can put out thought crime things like the TAPS Act. Understand the times we're living in, first of all. FBI is saying people who are anti-government, anti-authority, they're saying that these people are domestic terrorist threats. At the same time, they're also saying pro-choice people, anti-abortion people are domestic terrorist threats. And a lot of times you see these fights in these protests, and a lot of times it's from those people that are planted in there by the government to cause trouble, cause ruckus. Oh, can't forget the animal rights, environmental extremists. They call people who want to save the whales domestic terrorists too. But back to the protest where you see the violence and stuff happening, this is what they want. This is what they need actually to justify them going after people, shutting people's Twitter pages down, shutting people's freedom of speech down. They need the violence, which is why you will never see me doing the violence, which is why you've never seen me advocating the violence, but they use their people to do it, and they're pretending to be these separate people like Gavin McInnes. So what I'm basically saying here is the FBI, CIA, all these guys, they have their people playing a role, doing violent things, and then they're framing everybody else. And then what? You end up losing your rights. And then they end up gaining what? More control. But look, this is unreasonable. It's very unreasonable to say somebody pro-choice, anti-abortion is a domestic terrorist. It's very unreasonable to say somebody who's anti-government, anti-authority is a domestic terrorist. How could you say that when there's so many corrupt politicians? So now you're not allowed to even call out a politician? Because if you do that, then you're advocating for violence because somebody's going to get mad and do something violent. But then what really ends up happening is their guy ends up doing it. The FBI's puppet ends up doing it. So anytime you see them, because they're going to try to do it, they're going to try to link, oh, the person who was watching that video, they were watching that Redsilverj video, they end up doing violence because of what they heard. You better know immediately what that means, because they do have a troll army. Oh, you don't know about that? We see here, U.S. spy operation that manipulates social media. Military sock puppet software creates fake online identities to spread pro-American propaganda. So at this point, a pro-American propaganda would be the continuation that the people anti-government, anti-authority people are domestic terrorists. So these people in the sock puppet army, they're going to push things that promote that. They're going to say things. They're going to play specific roles that look like certain people. So then you think, oh, well, that type of person is the reason why these bad things are happening, or they're the ones encouraging the violence. No. This is who it is. The U.S. military, the government. They've been doing this, and then your media just never tells you about it. Instead of telling you about this, they jump like way into crazy land and say it's the Russians. Well, how do you even talk about the Russians and the Russians using fake accounts when you never even mentioned that the U.S. military has one right now and they use it every day? Like, that's omitting major information. This is how you know they're not right. They're being deceptive. So again, the overall point I want you to understand, because they're always trying to frame people. I see these fake accounts all the time. I have to block these fake accounts. They're there for this exact reason, to do what? Spread pro-American propaganda, which there's nothing wrong with America. I like America. This is the greatest country on earth. I sure like being here, but I'm not going to push things that I know are lies to people just so they can do some type of agenda where they can control people. No, I'm not. That's not right. So this whole thing is about awareness. This whole thing is understanding, hey, this government is the same type of government that ran the COINTELPRO back in the day, and they had people infiltrate different movements like the Black Panthers, and then they end up getting those people killed and frame those people. And they're doing the same thing to this very day, and they're getting people framed and they're getting them classified as domestic terrorists. And then at the end of the day, their little puppets, they go away and they take their money and they retire or do whatever the heck that they do. But the damage has been done overall. This is the type of government you're dealing with. This is the type of media that covers up that because they covered it up back in the day. They didn't explain what was really happening. They'll just say, oh, this fire happened. Overall point, violence ain't the answer. And somebody who is woke ain't going to be out here doing violence because they understand that the system wants violence. The FBI requires violence to continue what they're trying to do with the taking away of people's rights. They need the justification to do the investigations and the prying into people's lives and the censoring of people's speech. They require that. Otherwise, people are going to say, well, why are you doing that? Redsilverj, all I got to say.